Hey, 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 everybody. Welcome to our new season. As I mentioned last week, season number 5 of The Ultimate Coach, a journey into conscious awareness and conscious creation of our being. All right. So let me start the journey by saying I invite all of you to be fully present tonight as we raise the consciousness of our being as leaders around the world. Now, before we begin, I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge a few creators. These creators are the reason we are gathered here tonight in this awesome community. The Ultimate Coach book was written by the incredible and inspiring ultimate author, Mrs. Amy Blake Hardison, and it's researched by our ultimate research, Mr. Alan D. Thompson. So I ask, let's all take this opportunity now to thank them both for their magnificent commitment to creating the Book of Being, which continues to plant seeds internationally around being. So let's take a moment. Let's go ahead and acknowledge them. They're the reasons why we're here tonight. So great job, everybody. Great job, Amy. Great job, Alan. And I want you all to know this. It's creating an impact and a ripple effect on those willing to read the book about themselves. All right. We would like to acknowledge Mr. Steve Hardison, AKA the Ultimate Coach, for listening to Spirit and creating the questions on the back cover and the first 2 pages before you begin, which continues to create the presence of reading the book about oneself. So again, I'd like all of us to take a moment to acknowledge the ultimate coach himself, Mr. Steve Hardison. Thank you, Steve, for the enormous impact you continue to consciously create in each of our lives internationally across lands and seas. All right. This event is a co-created space for a deeper experience of the Ultimate Coach book and to further explore being as we gather together in this community. I want to take a moment now to acknowledge each and every one of you for creating this opportunity for you to be here and to be fully present with each of us here tonight. Your presence is valued in this co-creative space. So take a moment to congratulate yourselves and give yourselves thanks and thank everybody else that showed up on this call here tonight. Thank you so much. And finally, please help me welcome our outstanding guest speaker tonight. Mr. Steve Bacon's in the house. Let's give him a round of applause. Let's give him some kudos. Mr. Steve Bacon is in the house. Thank you, Steve, for saying yes as our special guest reading for chapter 3, Growing Up. I want you to know you have had an incredible impact in the lives of many in this community as well as others around the world. And I want to take a moment, Steve, that I got to experience you in the flesh, in the raw, the powerful you when I attended the Phoenix, Arizona event back in January. To see what you created for each and every one of us was nothing short of a powerful miracle. I mean, you had people in tears going to the story that you had created. We were all riveted in our seats about what you did at that event. And I want to add this one more thing. Steve, you graciously allowed each of us who wanted to listen to the cam recording that you sent out for everybody. I want to let you know how powerful that was. And I thank you. And I thank you so much for sharing you to us and to the world. It is our great honor, and we thank you sincerely for being a yes in service with your presence here tonight with each of us. Also, allow me to congratulate both you and your beautiful wife, Kamina, for the precious gift of life you both brought into this world, baby Kaia. And I hope I didn't butcher the names too much. But congratulations to the both of you. Now, as we begin tonight, let's continue our journey together by sharing in the chat where you are all joining us from. Take a moment to go ahead and put it in the chat, please. All right, we have Texas in the house, San Diego, Canada, British Columbia, London, Toronto, Idaho, Australia, Maryland, Arizona, Nevada, Steamboat Springs, Colorado. go skiing much, Tanya? Michigan. Awesome, awesome, awesome. How awesome to see this total commitment from around this entire globe. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart and our hearts for being here tonight. All right. I would like to take this opportunity to share with you a few intentions we have created for us in this new season as we embark on this incredible journey together. This season, we have a downloadable PDF worksheet for you to take notes titled The Ultimate Coach Book Readings and Community Personal Reflections. This is what it looks like. So can I ask someone to go ahead and place that link in order for you to go ahead and print this out tonight? Someone put it in the chat for us, please. This is a call to action for each of us to focus on creating one line of our document per chapter. Now, if you already have a document, we invite you to take a look at your document and notice if there's anything you would like to revise from one line of your document, especially if you notice there is frosting on top of dog poop. We all heard that from the book. We all read it in the book, and it was explained multiple times. Let me give you a moment, take a moment here to explain what that meant to me. When I first created my document, that's what I did. I just put down things to say that I was able to do my document. But as I get more and more into the community, more and more into the book, and more understanding what the document meant, it's a living, breathing document that has you living into your being every single day. So I swiped all away, all that dog poop, and I recreated, and I'm still recreating my document, because once I finish this, I'm living into it. I'm practicing it, and I'm sharing it, because this is how it's creating me, moment to moment to moment. We invite those of you who are newly creating or have already created your document to explore new and fun ways to implement one line of your document from now until our next chapter reading, which will be next Wednesday. All right, so let's take some time right now to have a little bit of fun. What I want you to do right now, if you kindly would do this for me, share in the chat the answer to this question. Now I'm going to read it slowly and I'll repeat it. When you wake up tomorrow morning, what is one thing you need to do to create who you want to be? Let me say that again. When you wake up tomorrow morning, what is one thing you need to do to create who you want to be? Go ahead and share it in the chat, please. Say my document and say my purpose. Declare who I am. Believe in myself. Smile. Meditate. Thank God for giving me another day and ask him to go before me and bless my path as I go through the day. Remember who I am. The one thing is to love me. Know that I'm already there. Be loving. Connect to my heart, to me, who I am. Say my document, meditate, and sing. Awesome, awesome reflections, everyone. I just want to mention, don't just write an answer and forget about it. Set your intention to commit to action on the one thing you're going to do to create who you want to be. If you don't take action, it will always remain a thought in your head. Now, let's slow ourselves down in this moment. The journey to your heart begins with listening about you. Let me say that again slowly. The journey to your heart begins with listening about you. As you hear the words on these pages about you, allow for insights that may bubble up, that may stir your soul, that may feel uncomfortable or even relaxed. From this space, you recreate, reaffirm, and re-express the essence of you. So we request that when you read about you. When you listen, fully listen about you. And when it comes time to share about you. All right, let's get this started. Please help me welcome our next moderator, our very own beautiful Team Tuck member, Ms. Andrea Volslar.
Hey, oh yeah, thanks Team Tuck, technical stuff. Welcome everyone, welcome, 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 welcome. Oh, thanks Ken. That's a great, what a wonderful invitation you have for us today. And so if you accept the challenge, and you have a physical copy of the book on you, I invite you to show it off so I can have a good look. Please show your physical copy if you have it. Hold it up for me. Okay, right on. Way to go. Nice, Dave. Love the tie. And any first timers here, can you raise your electronic hand for me? Any first timers to this book reading? Jenny, Catherine, welcome. Right on. Okay, well, that's perfect. And Tammy, Coach Tammy, oh, we got 3. And Ross Anthony, we got 4. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome. You are so gonna love this. So I am getting, I would love to invite Jenny. Jenny, do you have a physical copy of your book? Yes? Would you read the back cover of the book for us? Be our back cover reader? Yes? Okay. And then let's see, who else was there? There is, where did you all go now? There's Catherine. Catherine. Where's Catherine? There's Tammy. Coach Tammy, how about you? Coach Tammy, would you read the Before You Begin for us? You've got a physical copy of your book? Right on. Would you read the Before You Begin for us? Excellent. And then Steve Bacon, you are our guest reader, so you're next. So got it. We got, who do we say was first again? Jenny. That's it. There. Now you're all on the same screen. Jenny, please read the back of the book, and then without any hesitation, Tammy, go ahead and read Before You Begin, and then Steve Bacon. So please go ahead, Jenny, when you're ready.
Dear potential reader, as you may have noticed, there are no testimonials on the back cover of this book imploring you to read it. I vetoed that. The only testimonial I am interested in is the one you will have from reading and experiencing this book. Please do not read this book about me. Read this book about you. Read it about being. As you read, ask yourself, who would I need to be a more loving person? Who would I need to be a more effective parent? Who would I need to be to create a level of confidence that is remarkable? Who would I need to be at peace with who I am? Who would I need to be fully in love with myself and my life? Who would I need to be to live the most extraordinary life I can live? Yes. Yay. I promise you that if you read this book with the intention of expanding your state of being, you will do exactly that. Your experience will be remarkable. Who you are being is everything. Loving you. Be blessed. Be you.
Before you begin, I never wanted to write a book, and I haven't. I never wanted to have a book written about me, but here it is. This book is a gift from my wife, Amy, who wrote it, and my friend, Alan D. Thompson, who conducted the research and interviews on which it is based. And it's not just a gift to me, but to you too. And now you're reading it. So with your permission, I'll give you some suggestions on how to read it. You see, this isn't an ordinary book. It's not simply a biography. It's not a self-help book. It's not a literary classic. It's definitely not a book about how to coach. In fact, it's not a book about doing anything. It's a book about being. And it's a book about you. To access this book, ask yourselves these questions as you read. Who am I being as a partner, a parent, or friend? Who am I being as a leader? Who am I being as a member of my community? Who would I need to be to have miracles show up in my daily life? Who would I need to be to create value in the work I do? Who would I need to be to generate a life of abundance? Who would I need to be to alter my relationship with fear? Who would I need to be at peace with my past? Who would I need to be to step powerfully into my future? Who would I need to be present as a way of being? Who would I need to be to live the most extraordinary life I can live? Who would I need to be to know that my life makes a difference? Who would I need to be fully in love with myself and my life? Who would I need to be to improve my relationships with the most important people in my life? Who would I need to be to read The Ultimate Coach and have a personal breakthrough in being wonderful me? The best part about this book is about you, is that it is endless. The story goes on, and it's written by your being. Loving you, be blessed, and be you, Steve Hardison.
All right, what up, family? It's your coach, Steve Bacon. Now, a couple of things what the hell happened to everybody else on the screen? What in the world? Hold on. I want to look at me the whole daggone time I'm reading. Okay. Couple things I want to say before I get started. Number one, I do anything for Steve. That's my dude. Love that guy. Love you, bro. I can see you down there looking like you're on vacation. What's happening? 2, I brought out my microphone so I could be sexier than Sanyika was last week. Just so y'all know, I had to bring out the microphone so I could deepen my voice, and I'm gonna speak into it like this. Thirdly, the first time I did this, y'all for y'all that haven't been around this movement since the beginning, my wife had to read the book to me because I was a really bad reader. So my wife had to actually read it to me, and I listened. So she was I had the first audiobook before anybody had, because my wife read it to me. And then when they asked me to do it the first time, this whole reading thing, I couldn't read well, and my wife stayed up with me teaching me how to read better. That's why I always listen to audiobooks. So I got a mother and her son that I've been helping solving the crisis in their life, showing up at 7. So I'm gonna read, and I'm gonna read like it's on 1.5, just so y'all know. But and then we'll see how much better of a reader I've become, right? All right, let's go. Chapter 3, growing up. This. Now everybody done disappeared again. Hold on. Whoever
Steve, would you prefer to see everybody?
Yes.
Okay, I'll leave you see everyone.
I mean, I'm pretty and I love looking at myself, but just not for this particular reason.
I love
Not,
it.
not,
All
not,
right,
not today. All right.
done.
Chapter 3, growing up. Steve was taking in his environment: desk, chalkboard, potential friends, and a teacher with an uncanny resemblance to Granny from the Beverly Hillbillies. First grade was going to be okay. Then he saw his mother walk by and open the door of his classroom. She was leaving. He darted out of the room and wrapped his arms around her legs. It took a bevy of adults to pray him loose. His teacher, Miss Smith, scolded him. His mother walked away. Steve stilled his soul. He was going to have to do this thing on his own. Steve wasn't totally alone because of their frequent moves and emotional turmoil in his family. Steve's brother, Phil, struggled in school. Maureen thought it was best for Phil to repeat the first grade. Since Steve and Phil were only 13 months apart, they both started first grade at Pioneer Elementary in 1961. They would attend all 12th grades together, often in the same classes. In many ways, school was a trying time for Steve. He couldn't tell the difference between a lowercase L and the number 1. He struggled with long division. In junior high, he missed the day when his algebra teacher explained variables. When he returned to school and saw X's and Y's on the chalkboard, he was baffled. More challenging was Steve's frustration. When Steve's mom was home in the evenings and available to help him with his homework, too often the experience was a corkscrew to hell. When Steve didn't understand something, he got frustrated. When he got frustrated, he would scream and throw things. When he screamed and threw things, his mom refused to help him and walked away. And when she walked away, Steve felt like his words and frustration were shoved down his throat. Unresolved, they became combustible. Sometimes he punched holes in the walls. Steve remembers hearing his mom say that he was hyperactive. He didn't know what hyperactive meant, but he was pretty sure it wasn't a compliment. He also knew that sitting at the desk for 7 hours a day and only talking when his teachers called on him was a formidable task. Some teachers were understanding. Miss Gainley extended extra love and kindness to him. Other teachers said things like, put a rag in this kid's mouth. That was humiliating, but Steve concealed it with bravado. There was parts of school that Steve loved: math, physical education, recess, story time, and all the social aspects of school. He also enjoyed the expanded opportunities for mischief. Steve and his friends often put a rock on the threshold of the cafeteria door so that so the door wouldn't completely shut. Later that night, when all the teachers, janitors, and administrators had gone home, Steve and his friends crept back into the cafeteria to help themselves to all the cookie dough, chocolate milk, and orange juice they wanted. Before Pioneer Elementary, school had centralized heating. They Before Pioneer Elementary School had centralized heating, they used fireplaces to heat the classrooms. Many of these fireplaces had been bricked in by 1960. In Steve's sixth grade classroom, the fireplace was extant, but was used to store soccer or extant, but used to store soccer balls and sports equipment. One time when Steve's teacher left the room, Steve and his friend climbed into the fireplace and up the chimney using the casing of the electrical wire as a handhold. The ascent. He accidentally pulled the casing from the wall. The school was immediately shrouded in darkness. Steve and his friend dashed to their desks and assumed innocence. No one ratted them out, showing the influence Steve had with his peers. Maintenance man, a long time to pinpoint the source and outage. Maureen completed a bachelor's degree in business administration and secured a job as an executive housekeeper for the Roadway Inn. Presumably, a daytime job in management would significantly improve the family's finances and give Maureen more time at home. It helped, but Maureen was now commuting to and from Salt Lake City each day, and she worked long hours. In 1963, Kennedy report revealed that women earned 59 cents for every dollar that men earned, and that the more lucrative positions were closed to women. Finances were still strained. Maureen would have thrived had she come of age professionally a few decades later. She had an intuitive sense for business. Her employees loved her and worked hard for her. If they fell short, she held them accountable. She had the uncanny ability to size people up after speaking with them for a few minutes. She had a work ethic equal to her pioneer ancestors and her indefatigable parent farmers. She boosted her natural abilities by reading business and motivational books and practicing in business associations. She was capable, decisive, and astute, a natural leader. Maureen dated and had offers to marry, but she was hesitant to complicate the family dynamics. She would eventually remarry, but not until all her children had married. In the meantime, she enjoyed the honks she got from passing cars as she mowed down her lawn in her short shorts and low-cut t-shirts. Okay, Maureen. Steve was mortified, especially when his friends drove by. I bet. That was my mom, I'd be mad too. Working hard was the norm for everyone in the Hardison household. Each Saturday, Maureen left the kids a long list of tasks to complete. Sometimes Steve would ask for extra jobs to earn money to buy something he longed for. On one occasion, he wanted cowboy boots. Steve did all the contracted tasks, but when it came time to pay him, Maureen didn't have the money. It was a bitter pill. Steve also worked for his mom's approval and to appease his tendency to OCD. He brushed the carpet in his room with a hand brush to get the nap to lie just right. Before cell phones and their predecessors, cordless phones, phones were either mounted to the walls or attached to walls via cords. If you wanted to talk, you were tethered to the wall. If Maureen got a phone call, Steve would take advantage of her temporary stillness. He would lean across her lap and lift up the back of her t-shirt so she could rub his back. This was solid gold moments, attention from his mother and being touched. They were rare. Also rare, but definitely a part of Steve's childhood, were those times when the stress was too much. Maureen could snap. "I'm losing it," she warned. Once unhinged, she could be fierce. Maureen thought it was important for her children that her children get religion. She just didn't want to be the one to do it. She would send the kids to church with Ellen and JP, or she would drop them off. Steve lingered at the door of the church until Maureen was out of sight. Then he made a beeline to the nearby Chevron station, shimmied up the tree, and perched. For the next hour, Steve watched cars go by and daydreamed. That was the way he liked his religion. On occasion, Steve intentionally left his dress shoes at school in spite of his mother's reminders to bring them home so he could wear them to church. Not to be outmaneuvered, Maureen insisted Steve wear his sister's shoes. That's messed up. Steve kept those pointy canvas shoes tucked deep beneath the pew. He couldn't get out of the church fast enough. For years, Maureen's life had been physically hard and emotionally stressful. She wore out too soon. At least once a quarter, she would come home from work too weak to get out of the car and walk into the house. She would honk and Steve would come out and help her in. When Steve was 12, he was playing basketball at Pioneer Elementary School. He was up to bat, waiting for the pitch. He heard someone say, "We need Steve Hardison. His mom is sick." He dropped the bat and sprinted through the alfalfa field, the shortest way home. When he got home, his mom was in bed. Steve did not remember what laid her low, but he was terrified. When Steve was 17, Maureen had a stroke. She was only 46. She lost her eyesight and was paralyzed on one side. Steve bathed her and helped her to the bathroom. Eventually, her sight and mobility returned. In between those health crises, Maureen frequently lamented that she was sure she was dying. Each time she foretold her demise, Steve blanched. What would happen if Maureen died? There was no father to turn to. Steve was terrified. The farm. Steve and Phil spent a lot of time on the farm. JP recruited them to pick beans, pull weeds, and be his gophers. Sometimes Steve had helped JP castrate bulls and cut the horns off cows. Steve watched as Grandpa picked up chickens and wrung their necks, and as Uncle Myron put a bullet in the cow's head so it could be butchered. Such things are part and parcel of farm life, but they disturb Steve's sensitive soul. Hey, mine too, but I don't think I could watch that. That's crazy. Can y'all still hear me or am I frozen? I'm frozen, but y'all can still hear
You're
me.
frozen, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Steve managed to have fun even while working. One day, when JP, Phil, and Steve were picking string beans, Steve pelted his grandpa with beans and then quickly returned to picking, feeding innocence in industry. JP stood up and looked around, but couldn't identify the culprit. After the third assault, JP walked to the nearest grandchild and kicked Phil in the butt. He fell into the green beans, puzzled by his grandpa's random smack. Sometimes Steve was at the receiving end of the jokes. Rob recalls, our grandfather's farm had milking cows. Cows leave fresh cow pies. Once I held Steve up by his ankles and dipped his head into the cow poop. Steve didn't think it was funny. That was a fight. We would have fought. I'd have started swinging. I'm just letting you know that right now. I'd have been swinging. Ellen and JP's house was as well as Maureen's, sat on the western edge of the farm. Behind the houses were all the structures of the small farm: a barn, a milk house, a chicken coop, tool sheds, storage for their wheat, and a garage slash farm equipment. Behind the tool shed was the 8 by 10 foot lean 8 by 10 foot lean-to that Grandpa used extra storage. It didn't have a door, just an opening to walk through. The floor consisted of slats of rough hen wood. Sunlight filtered through the spaces between the 1x4s of the walls. Inside were horse bridles, harnesses, and odds and ends. This lean-to, or the shed, as Steve called it, was a refuge for Steve. He would sit there for hours. He would meditate. He would watch the dust particles float into the sunlight and think the image looked like the universe. Sometimes he would cry, but mostly he thought. And he thought about his thoughts. Steve says, I would sit there and ask, what is life all about? Why is it like this? I've always been thoughtful and thinking. I remember wondering, there's thoughts in here. Who's doing that? Sports. Steve's favorite way to channel his energy was through sports. Steve's father had been a Golden Glove boxer and an outstanding baseball player. Steve and Phil inherited that natural talent. By the time Phil was in the 9th grade, he could throw a runner out at home plate from center field. Steve, who played catcher, could zing the ball to the second base from the player on the first base before the player on the first base attempted to steal. When the player on the first base attempted to steal. The opposing teams weren't expecting arms like that from 14-year-olds. Steve and Phil spent hours playing baseball, but also watching pro baseball on TV. Afterwards, they went out and practiced the strategy they observed. One coach told Rob that he worked hard to get his players to understand the strategy that Phil and Steve instinctively grasped. The coach also left a word of warning with Rob and Steve. That brother of yours, with Rob about Steve, that brother of yours, he better watch his mouth. He's a smartass. That's true. Steve's favorite baseball memory was hitting 3 home runs in an all-star game. Steve also loved football and basketball. He was a gifted athlete, but what gave him his edge was his desire and intensity. Steve remembers, I would take out all my frustration and all of my disappointment on the football field. I remember tackling one guy and accidentally breaking his leg. Music. Steve channeled his energy through sports, but he soothed his soul through music. He was constantly listening to music through all the mediums then available. The radio, record players, 8-track tapes while in the car. He would listen to music and fall asleep. He would listen to music as soon as he woke up. He could identify a song after hearing 2 chords. The first concert Steve attended was the Atomic Roaster concert, a hard rock band from London. This was a big deal for Steve, and he wanted to look his best. He wore his white bell-bottom pants with creases down the front. When he walked in and looked around, Steve saw everyone was in standard hippie attire, ripped jeans, beads, and leather vests. It looked like Donny Osmond had just walked into a Metallica concert. That's funny. Girls. Steve was a charmer and a bit of a heartbreaker. Jamie recalls every day as soon as he got home from school, the phone at the house would start ringing. The girls were calling. At the time, the place to be in Clearfield on Friday nights was the Admiral Theater, where the preteens would hang out and catch a current movie. Right next to the Admiral Theater was Chandler Rexel Drug, where kids would stock up on candy for the movie. They also sold friendship rings for $1. Steve bought one each Friday night and gave it to a new girl each Saturday. Occasionally, he bought two and had two girlfriends at the same time. Playa. These were not deep relationships. They couldn't even qualify as puppy love. Still, it is telling that Steve can count 66 girlfriends of this variety. Carol McGrath remembers Steve inviting her into the treehouse in the backyard. 11-year-old Steve leaned in to give her a romantic kiss. Just before their lips touched, he whipped out a Kleenex from his pocket and put it between their lips. You can never be too careful with germs. Oh man, I swear to God, every time I read this, it still feels new. That's hella funny. When Steve was 14 or 15, he went to Cedar City, Utah to play the state championship tournament in the Babe Ruth Baseball League. After practice, Steve and his teammates hit on the local girls. The girls flirted back, and soon the Clearfield boys and the Cedar City girls were walking together down Main Street. Things were going well until the hometown boys saw them and their alpha anger surged. The Cedar City boys jumped in the car, drove towards the outsiders, and gunned it. Steve and his friends fled into the park to shake off their pursuers. Steve was cute, and his baby blues were framed by eyeglasses that looked like he had crimped them with an eyelash curler. He was athletic, magnetic, and already had a vibe that said he was going places. Just underneath that vibe, there was one that said, "Don't mess with me." With all that, it was easy for Steve to pull off cool. He naturally had it. However, the sixth grade is cool. In sixth grade, his cool was threatened. I thought anybody wearing glasses looked dorky, Steve recalls. Yet, he knew his vision was subpar. On the day of the school eye test, he memorized the eye chart. It seemed smart at the time. I started wearing glasses in 8th grade and needed them in the 6th. Talking. Steve inherited traits from both of his parents that have served him well his whole life. From his mother, he got a keen intuition and a sense of business leadership and managing people. She instilled in him a prodigious work ethic. Mostly, see, Amy got these college words in here. What is that word? Propitiously? What is that word? Y'all know what it is. Y'all know what it is. He inherited our ability to read people. Y'all know what it is. Steve got his father's athleticism and persuasive charm, an outgoing nature, and a penchant for talking. By the time he was 12, he could wax lyrical about anything. On his second grade report card, his teacher, Miss Guyver, comments, Stephen is a good student. The only thing that is any problem is his talking. A mother of one of Steve's friends banned him from sleepovers because he talked too much. North Davis Junior High. Two photographs of Steve from junior high are telling. The first is the picture of the 8th grade class officers. Steve is the class president. He is positioned between the vice president and secretary, two girls who looked more like juniors in high school than 8th graders. Since the girls tower over him by at least 6 inches, it looks like Steve is sitting down. Steve is standing. The second picture is Steve's 8th grade photo. Steve is wearing a suit. He was the only boy in junior high wearing a suit for the sheer pleasure of it. Maybe ever. It's Hallmark Steve Hardison. 8th grade was a banner year. Steve started on the football, basketball, and baseball teams. He was a class officer. He was confident, even cocky, adored by girls, gregarious, and popular. But in 9th grade, things started to unravel. By 10th grade, at Clearfield High, his inner world was shattered. All his male friends' voices were cavern deep. They were adding muscles and inches to their frames. Steve looked like a little boy. It's a hard thing to hide, especially in the locker room. One game day, after rival junior high basketball team, Steve Angst came out in tears. His coach, Carl Clayton, approached him. Hardison, are you upset about the loss? No, I'm not. It's not that, coach. What if I never grow? You don't need to worry about that, responded Clayton. You are going to be at least 6'4". I played baseball with your dad at Hillfield. Your body is just like his. You are going to grow. Steve was shocked on 2 accounts. First, he had never met anyone outside of family members who knew his father. Second, he was astonished at the prediction. Steve graduated high school at 5'8". 3 years later, he was 6'4". Steve's crisis of confidence must be put in context. His innate confidence may have taken a hit, but no one other than Steve noticed it. He still had his swagger, certainty, and arrogance. That is as fixed in Steve as his blood type. Consider an incident that occurred when Steve was in 8th grade. He was walking down the hall at North Davis Junior High when he spied a boy flirting with his girlfriend. Infuriated, Steve walked up to this boy, who was much bigger than Steve, with his dukes in fighting position. Steve demanded to know what he was doing. Next, Steve barked, "Do you want to fight?" thinking his rival would back down. The boy landed an uppercut right in Steve's jaw. Steve's bottom teeth went through his tongue. There was blood everywhere. One punch had taken Steve out. Indomitable as ever, Steve spat out, "Have you had enough?" Five minutes to spare. Yay!
Yay! Give it up for Steve. Woohoo!
Thank y'all.
So now is share time. You know how there's share and tell at school? So now we get to share. So as you share, we encourage you to listen deeply within your heart and the stories that emerge within you. What triggered you? What patterns or non-useful thoughts are coming up? And there's a sheet, actually. I don't know if someone in tech wants to put that sheet that you can use and to collect those thoughts. So what patterns or non-useful thoughts are coming up? And share what comes up and explore what the new truth is for you. What is the true I am when the non-useful thoughts fall away? When we share, we help each other open up and go deeper. So now is share time. And our first reader was Jenny. Jenny, I loved. Would you like to share what was coming up for you? Jenny?
Okay, now yay. I'm unmuted.
Yay.
Thank you. It brought back definitely childhood memories of being awkward and worried about being dorky, and the different dynamics of kids, especially in junior high and high school. And I was not a popular kid, but noticing the dynamics that bring us together, that we all go through some kind of feelings of that, and wondering, are we going to be great, or are we going to be stuck in this phase which feels like forever? The things that we're going through. And sometimes it just takes someone else to see something bigger in us and to let us know what they see, what's possible, that we can rearrange our thoughts to focus on. Thank you.
Thank you. Hocus pocus. Yes. Hocus pocus. Thank you, Jenny. And daughter, what's your daughter's name? Oh, okay, you're muted. Okay, well, thank you for that share. Yes, we definitely can all relate that it's a time of growth, and it's awkward, and we're finding out who we are. So thank you, Jenny. Thank you for that share. And I love meeting you by the way, at Arizona, and getting to have pictures. That was such a gift. Thank you. And next, Coach Tammy. Coach Tammy, would you like to share what's coming up for you as you read? Coach Tammy.
Sure. Hi. Sure. This will be my second time reading it through. And I think this chapter just gave me a little bit more insight into again, just his childhood. They say that, if you there's a psychologist that says, if you tell me about the first 7 years of the man, I'll tell you about the man now, whoever they are. And so this really gives me some insight, and of course the chapters to follow will also speak to this as well. But you don't necessarily, when you look at who Steve is now and the impact that he has had in the world, you don't necessarily have to be born with everything just right in order to live out the divine calling of your life. You don't even have to know. I think one of the sentences that stands out for me is, oh God, what is the one? I think the one is where he questions, he's a young boy and he has these thoughts and he's like, where are these coming from? Just to be able to ask that question, I think is just very profound. And it just kind of, it reminds me of consciousness, like just going, coming out of the world and just going into like, wow, where are these thoughts coming from? So I was a big dreamer too as a kid, right? In the midst of being told, be quiet, you're a kid, you're to be seen, not heard. type of thing. So this, I know that I wasn't the only one that was young and that was daydreaming. So yeah, that's I mean, there's so many the nuggets around his life and how he was raised, but it was very beautiful.
Beautiful. Thank you, Tammy. Wow. We love your voice, your power and clarity.
Ah,
Yeah.
thank you. I'm a
Powerful
singer.
reading.
I've been singing for many years and speaking, so that's probably what it comes from. I have to sing one day.
Right on. Okay. Well, we love that. And yeah. Oh, Martin just got home, so now I thank you for that share, Tammy. That was wonderful, and it's wonderful you're here. Come back next time too. Welcome. And Steve Bacon.
Yes.
Would you love to share? I loved your reading. It was great how you interjected with you. So please, would you share what was coming up for you?
You know, this is my fourth time reading that, and I always get something new out of it. But this main thing was the best parts about Steve has never changed. Right? Those qualities as a kid never changed. He harnessed it, but the best parts never change, right? He's always stayed that kid. He's always remained being that kid. And that's the kingdom right there. And I can relate to the anger issues. For those of you that know my story, you know I can relate to all the anger issues and what it takes to harness that into love and compassion. And it takes a lot of work. And so I appreciate him for the work that he's done over the last, 60 years and whatnot. Really 30 years, because Steve really started this journey when he was, 38? So I really appreciate the last 30 years of his life and just showing us what's possible. But I appreciate you all for listening. I love y'all. I got to run. Take care. Be blessed. Stay Black. Keep hope alive.
Unmute. Yay. Love technology. Wow. Bye, Steve. That was amazing. So yeah. What a privilege to have. Is Steve still on this call? Steve? No, he's gone. Okay. Well, then I'd like to share something that was coming up for me. Yeah, school is a thing for it. It's a real growth period. And I think when I was hearing like the grade 2 teacher that was my champion and she loved me, and the grade 3 teacher who didn't love me, and I went to the hospital because she was, anyways, it just brought up all that stuff about feeling like, oh, you're different, you're a weird kid, and you're a person of color, and you're standing out. So that's what that brought up. Like, school is like, I don't fit in, I don't belong, I have to fit in, I'm weird. Speed typing classes, I went to speed typing classes and wore glasses, and that's nerdy for a girl, to wear glasses, and I was smart. so it's automatically you're in the not popular category and not an athlete. So I didn't think those were attributes. So I didn't see myself as gifted from the beginning, but I was. So now I see it, but back then it was like, no, yeah, I'm not yeah, school was, I didn't know who I was, and I didn't think I mattered. And so I think that's the bottom line here, is that school, I learned I didn't know who I really was. And yeah, the social part came later, and that's another story for next chapter. And yeah, I just love and really grateful for all of you being here and sharing so deeply about yourself. And there is after, I'm going to open it up to the community now. If there was anything that triggered you or really got you, like that you saw something new and would love to share, would you raise your electronic hand? I see Ralph already has his hand up. Anyone else that is feeling like called to share something with us? Because likely we've all, you've seen something new. Lisa, can someone unmute Ralph? Ralph, go ahead and share your golden nugget. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a beautiful share of you, beautiful readings. There's a couple things, and it's not going to be a habit that I always go first. And it was important today, and I'll start with something else and then go back to that. So what stood out to me is that Steve's mum had a stroke, and that Steve was by her side caring for her. I'm sure with her other children as well. And that fear that maybe the second parent would be absent from his life. And then he showed up on the call to support Steve. So I thought, oh, you know, that's part of who he became as well, somebody that supported people and valued people in his life. So that was just touching. And both he and Steve had to go, but the reason I put my hand up so quickly is in primary school, although my dad's a teacher, my mum was a teacher, my uncle and auntie, my other uncle, almost everyone, I couldn't really read. And I just thought, I'm sharing about me, but less so about the book and the impression that Steve Bacon just made on me, because he's learning to read more powerfully and doing it within our community. And to do that and share from himself and stumble a couple times and still exude the kind of confidence he does, that was really like extraordinary to me. That he, you know, I couldn't read. I still read slowly. I can still stumble over myself. It's taken many years, but to do that later in life and to do it in a public forum and to do it in the way that he did, I won't forget this chapter ever. You know, like as somebody that had that same struggle, to have that and to have the remarkable confidence taught me that some of the things inside that make me feel anxious or stressed or unsure, I'm sure I can overcome those as well by the example Steve just gave. So that's my share today, and I look forward to hearing the others. Thanks for having us from England. I've brought my friend along as well. We'll see if my big brother. We'll see if he wants to contribute later. But thanks for having us.
Mhm. Wow, Ralph, we love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for being here all the way from England. Like must be really late or really early for you. Thank you for being here and adding to this conversation. And I see Lisa. Lisa, would you like to share your golden nugget that you were getting?
Absolutely. I just want to say thank you to everyone for sharing. And Ralph, I totally agree with everything you said about Steve and about reading. And my daughter, who's nearly 20, she's 20 in a few weeks, she doesn't read well at all, but she's still at university. She's still persevered. And I just think it just takes, just people can do what they choose to do, and they just move through, and it, with love and help and support, you can do anything. Yeah. This chapter was interesting because I related more to Maureen, and I thought about my mum a lot during this chapter, and how my mum is very similar in a way to Maureen, and she just took control and just did everything that she could possibly do to make sure that we had the best that we could have within the construct of our family. And at times it wasn't very much, and at other times it was plenty. And I just know that when I was young, I really used to look up to my mum. I used to think that she was such a wonderful human because of those things, because of how she actually just contributed as much as she could to the best of her ability, even under really awful circumstances. And, you know, I just really appreciate my mum for that. But then I was thinking about how that then transpired into how I've parented my kids. And, you know, sometimes a little bit creates over parenting, I guess, in a way, not loving too much, but doing too much, not letting them kind of spread out and expand themselves a little bit. And, you know, I just found it really interesting to then reflect on that and how that's affecting the current situation in my household. And all of that is okay, because through this community and through reading this book and through the people that I've met, I can then come at all of this from a completely different angle, and come at it all with love and compassion and care and possibility for everyone in my family and beyond. So I really appreciated this chapter. Thank you.
Beautiful, Lisa. Thank you. Thank you for remembering your mom and creating her, and that legacy with your family and beyond. Yeah, it's powerful stuff, and we get to create it. So beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And Terry, would you like to share what's coming up for you?
Yes, I would. I'm actually taking something and bringing it forward to this week from Sunday. I'm not normally on Sunday's calls because I'm in the Pacific time zone at 7 a.m. And I was actually still in bed on Sunday, but my phone started saying you guys were here. So I listened to it and I recognized what a blessed childhood I had. And so I owned that I am blessed. I put that as part of my document. And as I was looking at that today, it's like we tend to look at, 10 things that are positive, and we look at one thing that's negative, and we really, really focus on that negative thing. So today I was looking at, okay, what happened during those early years? And, the negative thing was that in first grade, I was put in the dunce group for reading. I didn't stay there very long, but here I am still remembering that all these years later, and then also I remember being in the living room of the house and seeing there was fire, and I tried to open the door to tell my parents about it, couldn't open it. So I had to go to the back door, go all the way around. They did not believe me. And I went all the way back into again. Wait a minute, no, this is real. Went all the way back out again and finally got them to pay attention. They called the fire department and so on. But this whole thing of not being heard seemed to be a part of everything. But then I look at what were the good things then? And I was incredibly adventurous. I remember that there was a wild apple tree across the street, and I used to climb in that. I remember it had thorns in it. And I remember picking wildflowers and selling them to neighbors. And then later on, we moved, which was another whole challenge, that we moved several times. And that was always a challenge. But I remember at the house, at the second house, that I used to climb trees. I would climb to the top of these blooming evergreen trees. I think my parents would have killed me if they knew it. But I'm going to own that I am adventurous. That's going on my document. So I just wanted to share that. Yeah. Thanks.
Mary, you are adventurous. Yes. Wow. I love that. And I love meeting you in Arizona. That was really special. And Terry, you shared something. I remember you said it can be simple and easy and fun. Yeah. And look, you're an optimist. I can't read the rest of it, but I remember you are remembering the good stuff. Yeah. Wow. That's really good. Because we can take that one little not useful thought and that can run us, or we can take I am adventurous and that's more the truth. Well done. I love that. And okay, wow. Do we have any more time, Tanya? Are we good with time, or Tanya can go next? Would you like to share, Tanya?
I would love to share. Thank
Great.
you. I really want to thank Steve Bacon for his bravery in sharing and in reading tonight, overcoming a small challenge that might seem gigantic to many of us. I know for myself, I used to call myself a slow reader and a slow writer. I write things out fully. And so I love that I have the fire behind me, because when I think of certain things from my childhood that were really impactful, and going back and listening to this book reading tonight, I recognized in certain areas where my fire was no longer present. There were instances in the book reading when it said that Steve felt humiliated at certain points. And I remember certain people in my family where they really got excitement through humiliation. And so that came up for me tonight. What also came up for me tonight was when he said he loves sports and how sports was an out for him. And I was extremely athletic and very involved in every single sport when I was younger. And then at 15, I found myself being injured and in a wheelchair, my first experience in a wheelchair. And I've had experience in a wheelchair 7 times in total, starting from the age of 15. And so again, where my fire went out, where I felt like I lost my friends, I was no longer in like the quote unquote, I was no longer athletic. I was no longer with my friends. I was on a homebound schooling because I was in a wheelchair. And so I felt very distant. And so where did my unuseful thoughts arise from those experiences in my life that I felt broken? And that I felt like my spirit had been, somebody put the fire out in my belly. And that was me, just in my thinking. And so I'm very grateful for this chapter and bringing that up, because I recognize, again, like Tammy had mentioned, she said, children are to be seen and not heard. That was something that was very present to me, that was spoken over me by my grandmother. Children are to be seen and not heard. She would say "tacit," which in Italian means shut your mouth. And those are the memories that I had from my grandmother. And so recently I had to amazing opportunity to go back and just really question. I had an opportunity to spend time with my grandmother, and I got to experience her past. She was cotton. Her family, she was raised by her grandparents who were farmers. And so I did earn and gain a work ethic like farmers, and have a fire within me. But when did I let that fire go out? And so I feel like this book, I'm so grateful for Amy for writing this book, because it's really brought up the presence of who do I need to be to, again, feel the fire in my belly, to be me, irregardless of the stories, irregardless of the traumas, irregardless of the thoughts that might hold me back into my greatness. And so, again, I just really want to thank Steve Bacon for showing up tonight and being his true self, and reading through this, and each and every one of you that have joined us tonight. So thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Tanya. Yes, that fire, I see you. I see you. I feel you. Yeah. You're lit. You are the spark for all of us, and you inspire us. You might not be able to see it, but we are all here because you're lit. Yeah. So own that fire, sister. And have a good time skiing. And Martha, would you like to share with us?
Thank you. So that one piece where Steve is screaming and yelling and throwing a tantrum and being very angry and upset. And it reminds me of my now 7-year-old granddaughter, who I would say around 3 years old, up until maybe the beginning or the end of last year, her tantrums were like nothing I had ever seen, where she became this incredible child that nothing would keep her, we couldn't do anything to calm her except to allow her to just let go of all of this that was going in inside of her. And I can only imagine how difficult it must have been for Steve's mom, when I think how difficult it was for me to observe and not know what to do, and only love her even more because she, as a young one, couldn't really describe what she was feeling. And now as a 7-year-old, she can handle her anger better because she's learning to use her voice, which is something that her mom and I and all of us are encouraging her to do. And she is now waking up to this beautiful, quiet, gentle, loving child who I'm seeing her frustration is because she wants to do it perfectly. So that just really rang for me to see that part of Steve and how he moved through it throughout his life, because it wasn't until he was an adult that he began to let go of the anger that was within him. And it reflects back on me of how can we support my little granddaughter so that she can learn how to relate to herself, even at a deeper loving level, so that as she continues in her growth and becoming an adult, she knows how to regulate herself without going into this place of frustration and anger and so forth. So gives me hope, I guess you might say. Thank you. I'm complete.
Yes. Thank you, Martha. Yeah, letting go of anger and not keeping it for years and years and years. Yeah. Wow. Your granddaughter is 7. If she can do it now, wow, that's great. The faster we can let it go, and the lighter we can be. What a gift. Yeah. Thank you, Martha. And also thank you for grounding us. Martha grounded all of us before this call, and so it's coming from you, you know.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I love that we can these things are a work in progress, and we get to learn it and practice it, and this is all practice, and we don't need to be perfect. We just need to practice it. Like, screw the perfectionism. Like, it's just being present. Who are we right now? Are we here right now? You know, who am I right now? Am I calm? Am I present? Am I in fear? Am I in love? Simple. So if I'm anything other than peace and ease and joy, then I know I'm somewhere else. I'm in the future, the past, something. But if I'm really here, then it's like, wow, I get to notice all of you here, and I get to notice and appreciate the moment. So yeah, it's beautiful. And thank you all for your shares, for being here. And I think we're time. Are we, Tanya? Yeah, we're time. Okay. So I get to hand it to, this has been an amazing session, and I'm going to hand it to Liz to take us into the after party.
Woohoo! All right. Thank you so much. I know all of our guest readers for this evening have already jumped off, but I'm still going to take a moment to say thank you so much, Steve Bacon, for being the guest for Chapter 3, for growing up. Thank you to Jenny and Tammy for reading the back cover and Before You Begin. So awesome to have new people jump on and just jump in and just be present with everything. Thank you, Ken, for starting us off tonight. You were awesome. Andrea, thank you for navigating through all of our shares and just bringing it home. Loving it. Team Tuck, thank you. You guys are amazing. What we're creating for everybody in this group, so powerful. And it's an honor to be a part of this team and all the work that goes on behind the scenes. Thank you, each and every one, for showing up to create this. Everybody who's on the call with us tonight or who tuned in on the Facebook Live, thank you so much for showing up for yourself. Thank you for being here and listening about yourself and sharing about yourself. And I just want to take a second, to let you know that we're going to be off on Sunday this week. It is the Easter holiday, so we want to encourage you to join us again on Wednesday. So we got a week from now on April 3rd. It'll be 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So we will be reading the Chapter 4, At Risk, and our guest reader is going to be Leandro Fontan, and he will be joining us. So super excited for that. Lots and lots and lots of opportunities for you to take your being to the next level, going deeper, learning more about yourself and who you are and who you're being. So we invite you to join us, if you're able, in the Birmingham event, and that will be over in the UK. I'm going to drop the link in the chat right there for you if you need that. If you have not already purchased your ticket, please consider doing so. It is life altering when you show up and experience it about yourself. The creation of these events, when you create them for yourself, is also life altering. I've been to a couple, absolutely 100% changed my life. I will be in the UK. Anybody want to come? Give you a big hug. All of the proceeds are going to be donated to the Birmingham Children's Hospital. It's going to be helping with the cochlear implants. We're going to be giving those children an opportunity to hear so they can listen about themselves, so they can grow, impact the lives of those little ones, their families, this world. I mean, it's going to be amazing. And so many other things for us that we can do to enhance our own being. We can look at so many different links. The link for the Ultimate Coach YouTube channel. We've got the Ultimate Coach podcast. We've got Ultimate Coach Instagram. We've got Ultimate Coach LinkedIn group. I mean, we've got it all, guys. Ultimate Coach Weekly Bean Digest newsletter with the upcoming events comes out in the emails. If you want, you can also jump on, listen to the Ultimate Coach Friday Live conversations in our Ultimate Coach Facebook group. We've got Cassie and Carrie who are facilitating those. Amazing. Love those. We also have the ultimatecoachextras.com. So you can tune into that. You can see all kinds of things. I believe TBOLITNFL is on there as well. Just so many amazing things. We've got so much stuff. So if you need any information on any of these resources that I just mentioned, please just drop it in the chat and we will make sure that we get you that info on how to get that. So just drop that in there if you need. But the other thing that I want to do before we take us into the after party is pictures. If you guys have any pictures of when you were growing up, bring them to the after party. Bring them and share them. We would love to see you. I'm going to share about that girl right there that I just showed you in the after party and what came up for her. So I'm going to invite each and every one of you to unmute, and we're going to wish everybody a good morning, good night, good afternoon until we see each other next, or hello in the after party. Stay with us, hang with us. Feel free to share, go a little bit deeper. If you didn't want to share live on camera or on the recording, this is a safe space for you, and you're more than welcome to share there because the recording will be off and we will no longer be live. So we are so excited to have you join us. So everybody, feel free to unmute. We'll say adios for now, and then we'll be in the after party.
Awesome.
So, love you.
Thank you, everybody.
See you later. Bye. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Everyone.
Hi. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, everyone.
Vanessa.
Thank you
Happy
guys.
birthday.
Good job,
Yes,
Martha.
happy birthday, Mary.
Happy birthday,
Mary.
Happy birthday,
Happy
Mary.
birthday, Mary.
Yes.
Very happy
Happy
birthday.
Ross, thank
birthday.
you
Happy
for joining
birthday.
us for the first time. So glad you're